My fellow Wheel and Anchor members, friends, and travelers in general, I have an important message to bring you about the impact that COVID-19 is having not only on us here at Wheel and Anchor, but on the travel industry as a whole. As you can well imagine, we've entered one of the most challenging periods of time, not only in the travel industry, but for us as society as a whole. As little as a week ago, when I was filming my last newsletter from the sunny city of Panama, the events have unfolded so quickly that none of us could possibly foresee. I want to let you know that first and foremost, the health and safety of all of our members and your families is our primary concern. As you can well understand, our email inboxes and our voicemails are overloaded with messages of concerned members who are worried about their trips that are scheduled over the coming months. I want you to know that we are looking into all of the available options for these, and that the situation in many places is changing so fast that it is difficult for any of us to stay on top of. I know that most of you understand that we find ourselves in a situation with the spread of this virus over which we have no control. I realize that not knowing what will happen is the most frustrating part because it impacts all of the plans that we have in our lives. And I know that a big concern for many of our members is the financial impact that will be felt. I've had many emails from members who understand the difficulties this situation presents us, and I thank you for your understanding and I appreciate your patience. I've also had emails from members who, as a result of all the frustration and unknowns, are demanding that we do something and that we refund their money as soon as possible. First of all, I want to say to those members that I understand your frustration, and if it were within my control, I would do everything to resolve this and refund all of your money to everyone's satisfaction. I really do mean that. But I want to reassure you again that my team and I are doing whatever we can to address the situation in the best interest of all of our members. I'd like to take a couple of moments to explain exactly the situation that we're in and what we're doing to mitigate the financial impact. First of all, as I think you probably know, but I want to clarify again, we are travel facilitators. We put the effort into planning, organizing, and executing trips. Of course, we work with airlines, cruise lines, hotels, local travel agents, guides, restaurants, and all kinds of other service providers to provide the services that your trip requires. We're not the ones who actually provide these services, but rather we contract for them, and then you contract with us for the trip as a package. When you book a tour with us, the monies that you pay to us are used to pay for all of those services. The terms of those service contracts are mirrored in the terms and conditions of your contract with us here at Wheel and Anchor. If you have to cancel your trip with us for any reason, then we in turn have to cancel the contract for those services and pay for all of the penalties that might apply. When it gets really close to a tour, say within a few months, then those cruise lines, hotels, and so on don't have the ability to resell those cabins or rooms, and so they simply can't refund our money because they don't have the chance to sell a room on to someone else. That's why we strongly recommend taking trip cancellation insurance, because if something does happen to you, some emergency, then the insurance company will step in. In situations where one or more of our service providers can't provide the services that we've contracted for, then they have to cancel the trip, and they're supposed to give us our money back and we can give you yours. However, and this is the most important point, if those airlines, cruise lines, and so on don't cancel their services and they remain ready to accommodate their guests, regardless of extenuating circumstances like the ones we find ourselves in now, then that puts us as travel facilitators in a very difficult situation. In normal times, the system works very well. Insurance companies are there in a number of different capacities. They act as a backstop for travelers who get sick or who have some other emergency, as I mentioned, or also the travel suppliers often have insurance to cover these situations. And finally, in cases where travel is made impossible or highly risky, such as when a level 3 or 4 travel advisory is issued about a particular country or region by our government, then in many cases, but not all, the travel insurance company will step in and refund an insured person's money. Of course, if you don't have trip cancellation insurance, then there's no one left to pick up the tab, and you're unfortunately out the money. The circumstances, however, regarding this COVID-19 are far from normal. It has caused the biggest chaos and uncertainty in my experience in this business, and as I said, I've been in it for almost 30 years. It is perhaps the biggest chaos since modern day travel has existed. A few travel suppliers have gone to exemplary lengths in offering the opportunity for their passengers to rebook, albeit within a window of time that is not necessarily ideal for those of us who don't have the flexibility to change our plans on short notice. However, the majority of companies, like airlines and cruise lines in particular, are trying to operate as normally as possible so that they don't bankrupt themselves. That's why almost none of them are offering to refund our or anyone else's money. They stand behind their contract terms and conditions, which are understandably designed to protect them from financial ruin. Our job as a facilitator of travel is to try to fight through all this and secure the best deal for you, a valued member of our community, in an effort to make all of our members as happy as possible. In times like this, it is an incredibly difficult task that is exacerbated by the emails flooding in and the phone ringing off the hook, none of which I can blame anyone for. At the current time, we are in contact with all of our travel suppliers to see what they're able to do for us and for you. In some cases, we're making headway, but in other cases, it's a huge struggle partly because we are one of hundreds of companies who are trying to do the same thing, and most of these suppliers simply don't have the resources to address the flood of inquiries that are coming in. So I know that's a lot of information, but I hope it explains a little bit the situation that we're in. In the end, like everyone else in the travel business, we don't benefit in any way from all this extra work. We do what we can to help solve the problem in the best way possible, and we hope and pray that the situation will be over soon, because we too have to pay for all of our overhead costs. And as many of you who've been in business for yourself, you will know it puts a heavy toll on small businesses like ourselves. So my final advice, if you're booked on one of our trips leaving in the next 8 weeks, please know that I and the rest of my team are doing what we can to find the best possible solution. If I don't answer your email right away or I don't return your phone call, please understand we're working on figuring out a solution. If you get advice from me that you don't particularly like in one of my travel updates, then it's simply because we can't change the contracts that we are bound by. We're doing what we can to negotiate through all of that. Please understand I'm advocating hard on your behalf, and if I can change anything for the better, I certainly will. Most of all, the decision that you have to make is deciding what is best for you. It might mean that it will cost some money to choose not to travel in these very difficult circumstances, but believe me, it's costing all of us a lot of money. At the end of the day, as travelers, I think that you know that nothing is predictable, that everything will eventually turn out all right, and one day we'll all look back on this as the madness of 2020, and we'll be thankful that we're fortunate enough to travel in the first place. At this unprecedented time in our history, I ask you to follow the advice, first and foremost, of your health professionals, and do what you can to protect your family, your friends, and yourself from this terrible virus. I promise that you're going to hear from me again very soon, hopefully with some better news. But in the meantime, hunker down, dream about all those amazing places that you want to travel to, and know that at some point soon, we're going to get there.